We have a very interesting situation going on with AMC's Adam Aaron. We also have the Taylor Swift movie that does start to hit theaters later on today. You had some very big economic data come out. Also, you're getting a surprising move in the equity markets. AMC stock was green, now is slightly red. Let's go ahead and get into all of the information that you need to know so far here on the day, and there is quite a bit of it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Let's go ahead and start with this clip from CNBC on this situation with Adam Aaron.
A new report from Semaphore saying that AMC's CEO Adam Aaron was the victim of a blackmail plot in 2022. The report saying that Aaron sent sexually explicit images and messages during weeks-long communications with a woman who tried to extort hundreds of thousands of dollars from him using fake identities. The report says Aaron never compromised company information, didn't pay the blackmail, and reported the events to the FBI earlier this summer. Bronx woman pleaded guilty to scamming a victim number one. That's how I believe some of this came about. We'll talk about that in a second, who Semaphore now says was Adam Aaron. Semaphore's business and finance editor, Liz Hoffman, reports what exactly transpired, and she joins us now with more. Maybe it's a movie, or at least a TV show. What happened here?
It's actually sort of a simple story, which is, about 15 months ago, there was an indictment, a federal indictment in Southern District, that it charged this woman with essentially catfishing and blackmailing an unnamed CEO. And at the time, there was a couple of days where everyone's kind of talking about it, and then just went away. And it turns out it was Adam Aaron, who at the time was in the middle of this crazy meme ride, right? Like, had really become a very public figure. And really overexposed himself.
Adam's married?
Yes, is my understanding.
Okay, so there's two sides to this, right? There's the bad news, which was he was bribed, and then there's the other news, which is also not great, about what he was doing.
Yeah, and I should say, I don't care about people's personal conduct, generally speaking. And I said very clearly in the story that he did not, it did not seem to compromise the company in any way, but this is a CEO. Look, a lot of being CEO is having good judgment at the end of the day, and this is a CEO who I think has demonstrated some pretty questionable judgment on lots of occasions. Some are goofy. He did an interview with no pants on once. Right. Some are serious. I think he spent $28 million of shareholders' money buying a stake in a teetering gold mine,
the mining company. I remember that. Yep.
And really leaned into this meme stock ride in a way that, frankly, is probably why AMC still exists, didn't go bankrupt, but himself, sold $40 million of stock into this craze. So I think that's the backdrop here, and this is a CEO that kind of bears watching.
Right. I want to continue this, but I do want to read you. He put out a statement,
he did,
as I think you probably just saw in the last hour or so. Adam Aaron speaking out about that blackmail plot in a long post. He posted it on X, formerly Twitter, saying in part, quote, "Unfortunately, last year I became the victim of an elaborate criminal extortion by a third party who was unknown to me related to false allegations about my personal life. Rather than give in to the blackmail, I personally engaged counsel and other professional advisors and reported the matter to law enforcement. I did so knowing I risked personal embarrassment, but with my access to resources, if I did not stand up against blackmail, who could?" He also writes, "I was asked by law enforcement to keep this matter confidential during their investigation and subsequent court case. Shortly after the extortionist July 2023 sentencing, I informed AMC's board of directors, which thoroughly reviewed these events with independent outside counsel at Wilmer Hale," that's the law firm. "As I said above, this indeed was entirely a personal matter, and the matter," he says now, "is closed." So
he told the board.
He told the board after, but it sounds like after because he was asked by law enforcement not to tell them earlier.
And that was my understanding as of yesterday, that he was asked by the FBI to not say anything, which is understandable, and he didn't. And then when the matter was resolved this summer, he told them. They looked into it and came to the conclusion that it was not a matter that required, disclosure to shareholders, and it wasn't a company issue.
Right. So, but as a company issue, and this goes to the judgment story, he has made a number of decisions which people have found questionable. At the same time, the truth is, and I don't know where you think directionally this company is going, he's at a time during the pandemic when people thought this company was going to fail, and fail hard, he has managed through all sorts of different ways to continue to raise money. Now, some people have questioned how he's raised that money and whether he's done that on the backs of shareholders who haven't understood what's happening and all of that. But how do you sort of, through that prism, see all of this?
At a normal company, this is like very concerning and troubling. I don't know, in the same way that like Elon Musk in a weird way has been like a very good steward of Tesla, like his antics have worked to that company's advantage. Twitter probably less so. Adam Aron's, whatever you want to call them, his sort of unorthodoxy as a CEO is probably the reason AMC hasn't gone bankrupt, right? That he was able to really activate this crowd of retail investors and sell them a ton of stock and raise a ton of money. So I don't know. This is a weird one.
So you think the board is more reliant on his track record and
I think it's tough to change
as a result
horses
of
here.
what's
Right.
happened
Right. He's
at
made
this
it this far. You know, though they did an equity offering a couple weeks ago that really riled up the retail base. I mean, they've just been so massively diluted,
Right.
and the stock is down, 95% from
But
its
the
peak.
truth is, it's funny. Everyone has mixed views about this. In a way, I sort of admire all of the craziness because this company, without diluting the shareholders, would not exist.
Correct.
At this point, you couldn't pay back these bonds quick enough. I mean, the loans. And so the only way you'd ever do this is to do sort of what's happened here. And so if you're playing some kind of very long game, that's what it is. It's just not a great long game if you're a shareholder.
Well, nobody wants to see blackmailers succeed.
Right.
No,
Well, no, that's a separate. The blackmail piece is
No, though,
independent.
but the same sort of. And look, I don't know Adam Aron,
Right.
and I don't have a dog in this fight. But like, I think the same impulse that sort of probably got him in trouble here is kind of the reason that he did all the things that worked. Right? Like most CEOs don't do YouTube interviews with no pants on, but actually, like his fan base loved it,
Right.
and they bought a bunch of stock. So I don't know. This is a strange one.
Liz,
He doesn't say he did anything wrong in this.
Right.
He said
No,
that
very clearly, he is a
his,
victim.
His statement,
Right.
statement, he says it was false allegations.
And there's a slightly complicated subplot there that's if you want
Okay.
to spend time at Southern District like I did, you can read about it. But
come on back and we'll do a longer thing, or maybe like a streaming show about we'll do it together, and you can explain
Anytime.
what actually happened. It
Sounds like a podcast.
May not be a family program. I don't know. Liz, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We should mention, by the way, Taylor Swift, the
Tomorrow.
film, right? Tomorrow, the
Big
premiere
week for
last
AMC.
night.
Yes.
It's huge. Given, I mean, not that this is going to overshadow that. It's hard for that, but this is all happening at the same time.
Yeah, so that's a weird one. I kind of like how they painted it on CNBC, though. They really did give Adam Aron praise for what he has done with AMC, for better or for worse. I do like specifically they acknowledged the last capital raise, how AMC really made a lot of people angry with that last one. I do think that highlights a point of you really can't dilute shareholders anytime soon. I think that is more validation to myself that I think Adam Aron, AMC understand that. If they dilute AMC again, they risk destroying everything that they have done over the past couple of years. And the stock could go pretty close to zero if they did decide to do a massive capital raise again when the stock is $9-10 per share. I don't think you get away with that until AMC is well into the 20s. That's my personal opinion. Obviously anything can happen. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't trade based off of what I say, but that's my personal opinion. That's kind of what I got out of it. But overall, for a negative situation, it's not like people are looking at it with too much negative light, and it's something that who knows if it ultimately affects AMC stock. Probably not. Usually personal matters don't affect a stock. When the judgment of a CEO is in question, that's a bigger concern. But like they said in that clip, I mean, Adam Aron has done some questionable things before, and it has worked. So we'll see. Now, let's get into some of the data that came out today, what you guys need to know on the situation here in the markets, because what a strange one. So we had CPI that came out today. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we had CPI that came out today. And your core inflation rate, let's go ahead and refresh this just so we know we have the right numbers. Your core inflation rate came in at 0.3%. You were expecting 0.3%. Core year over year came in at 4.1%. You were expecting that. Inflation rate on a headline basis came in at 0.4%. You were expecting 0.3%, a little bit above expectations. The inflation rate year over year on the headline came in at 3.7%. You were expecting 3.6%. And then initial jobless claims came in at 209,000. The initial jobless claims are just not moving higher. It's like no matter what happens, no matter who lays who off or how many people get laid off, there's just no change in the initial jobless claims, which is very weird, very strange as of right now. I think eventually that will start to show up in the data, but it's certainly not having that effect as of yet. Overall, CPI was pretty much in line with expectations. I think market participants were expecting a little bit more of a decline on your core. I think a lot of that core year over year, a lot of people were expecting that to be under the 4s, and that's really what you wanted to see to get a strong, healthy rally here. With that being said, the S&P is still up today. The NASDAQ is up 0.37%. You're literally on a face ripper rally right now. And it's strange what is going on, okay? If you take a look here, you're right at a very important level. On a trendline basis, if you connect the highs that we've seen back in July to the prior peaks that we have seen since, you're very much on a downtrending line of resistance. And you're meeting that here today. So I think what happens today is pretty important. I'm honestly surprised stocks are going higher today when a TLT is down 1.19%. As of lately, we have seen bond yields really dictating what happens with stocks. Now, also, you have oil that's up 1%, and the dollar, which is up, for whatever reason, I always have to refresh that, is up 0.5% today. The dollar going higher is bad news. Oil going higher is bad news. Bond yields going higher is bad news. Stocks going higher, that's strange. Now, you could also make the argument that this could be good news since bond yields are actually moving higher. Bond prices are going lower. What you've seen lately, the last couple of days ever since the Israeli war has really started, you have gotten bond yields that have been going down on hotter than expected PPI, on Fed's talk that really it didn't sound like we were getting rate cuts any sooner than before. Like there was not a huge reason for bond yields to be falling off a cliff the way they have recently. That was more so what I thought of a fear move. You're not seeing the fear move today. Money is not flowing into bonds the way that it has over the past couple of days. So I think that is positive as far as where the markets are themselves. And I think it's, good rather than not for the bulls if stocks are higher today. Although it is something that could be fleeting, it could be temporary, I still think it is positive that stocks are in the green. Now, by the end of the day, who knows? That could totally change. We do have some very important economic data coming out from China later on today. You're going to get their inflation numbers, their PPI numbers, as well as the balance of trade, the exports, and the imports. All of this data will be coming out in between 9:30 and 11 p.m. tonight. That's probably what is going to move the markets overnight tonight. And then starting off tomorrow, you have some Fed speakers and then the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. Now, let's get into what's going on with AMC stock here on the day today. If you look at the Stocko tracker data, you have about 40,000 calls currently in the money, 66,000 calls out the money. In the money puts at about 3,000. More than 10 times the amount of calls in the money compared to puts in the money. That just shows you to the extent AMC stock has rallied recently. It's been a long time since you have seen that. And then you have out the money puts at 64,000. So all looks healthy, all looks good there. If you look at the Ortex data, go ahead and give that a little bit of a refresher. You have a short score of 58, $159 million worth of short positions, estimated short interest on free float at 7.72%, free flow out on loan at 11.04, shares out on loan 21.83 million, days to cover 1.29, cost to borrow 1.98, and utilization of 46.01. So nothing too crazy over here as far as the Ortex data. If you look at the put to call ratio, that is sitting at 0.75, so you're basically at the same point you have been as of recently. I believe the put call ratio hit a low of 0.74, but 1 point here or there. that is definitely not making a difference. Put call ratio has been falling a lot recently. That's one of the reasons I have called this rally on the head. I've been calling this rally since the stock was at $7 per share. Congratulations if you hit that to some degree or another. The last couple of days have been pretty bullish for AMC. I really don't think it matters at this point. As long as you're above $10 per share, or really $9.50, $9.40, I think you move higher from here. If you break under about $9.40, that's where you have a little bit more of a problem. That's where you can question the rally a little bit more. But above this downtrending line of support, you should get a pretty nice move off of that. Now, your 50-day moving average is coming down quite aggressively. That is at $17.46. I think that is the bare minimum to which we go during this rally. $28.98. That's your 100-day moving average, and your 200-day moving average at $37.52 per share. So those are the levels on the upside that you really want to be watching as a midpoint. $28.98 does not look like a bad place to start, at least for a rally. That would indeed be your multi 100% rally from the lows. If you look at the RSI, that is at about 46, so you're still under 50. You're still technically more so on the oversold side, so it does show maybe there's more room for the upside there. And the MACD is just very consistently bullish right now. We'll see if we actually do break into positive territory. The signal line's -2.5. The MACD line is -1.5. If you do break into positive, that's where algorithms could get a little bit more excited and start to actually buy AMC stock in a bigger way, guys. Now, last but certainly not least, we do have a update from this Israel situation. Now, like I've said many times, if this Israel situation does spread to a multi-nation conflict, if the U.S. did get involved, if Iran specifically got involved, that could be a problem. Now, just conflict alone causes markets to be pretty dang fearful. We haven't seen a red day since the Israel war has started. Eventually we will, but specifically if Iran were to get involved, about 30% of the world's transportation of oil goes basically through Iran's water space. So if they wanted to just be a D-bag, they could stop that flow of oil. They could cut that off, slow it down, and that could have big real effects on the economy. So it's not just, two nations fighting. Potentially, if this situation were to escalate with Iran, then it could be oh crap, gas could hit $10, $15 a barrel. That's for sure going to send the economy into a recession. That's basically going to slow down everything overnight. I don't know how many people would be able to afford to drive to work and pay their bills. That would be quite the crisis if that did ultimately play out. Now, this news I think is good news. It says Syria says Israeli missiles hit Damascus and Aleppo airports. Syria said Israeli forces launched simultaneous attacks on the airports in the capital Damascus and northern city of Aleppo on Thursday, damaging the runways and putting both hubs out of service. Now, cited news agency SANA said burst of missiles hit the two airports at the same time, and what he said was a bid to distract the world's attention from Israel's war with Hamas militants in Gaza. Now, why do I think this is good news? Because Israel is showing they will attack. So I think that to some degree, it really makes Iran have to second guess like what they do, because if Iran wants to get involved, well, Israel, the U.S., they're not going to hesitate to also get involved. That is not exactly the winningest situation, if that's a word, for Iran. So I do think this is a little bit of good news. It is escalatory, but I think it's more of a deterrent than it is anything else, and I think it's quite a strong one at that, guys. So that's gonna do it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. If you guys want to come trade with us live in real time, get over there, get active with us, start maybe taking control of your destiny in different trades, little hedges here and there, buying some stock. Link down below in the description of this video. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.